Da. Good morning, everybody. I am so awake this morning. It's not even funny. I got a lot of sleep. I got a lot of rest, and I think we made a lot of progress in the company yesterday. So we're super pumped about that. How are you doing this morning? We've got some fun stuff to cover this morning. We're going to cover TedLexa, the Teddy Ruxpin connected with Alexa in the creepiest of ways. We're going to cover some internet outage news, which is an interesting dynamic that we in the first world don't often think about. We're going to cover that, but as promised, in line with our focus on goal setting and how to turn our crazy thoughts into actionable strategies. Yesterday Monday, we turned a huge corner on how to get these things lined up, and we'll review a little bit of that, just not much, just a little bit, and then we'll jump right into how to turn those goals into chunks that are actionable, that go on the calendar. This is the day that things make it from the ether sphere onto your calendar as commitments to yourself and commitments to the people around you. That's what's going on today. But before any of that, you know what time it is. A warm cup of gratitude. So I want to hear what you are grateful for today. What are the things exciting you? What are the things enriching you? Oh, and let me make sure I've got this other page up. Boom. I got to have my feeds up. So what are you grateful for today? I tell you, I am grateful for for restedness. I got so much rest. I was nodding off embarrassingly at 7:15 yesterday morning. Excuse me. Nodding off on the couch, and Marissa coaxed me to lay down in the bedroom by promising to put a show on in the bedroom, but I was out like a light. So I appreciate restedness. I'm grateful for restedness and the tools to dominate. Right now, we're wielding ClickUp. That's a powerful app that we're using, and I just found some additional views and tools in that this morning that I was super encouraged with in terms of us managing our labor. I am super grateful for this tool. This is a tool. This is my Moleskine journal, and I write down all the things I need to do, and the writing of things helps so much. And last but not least, I am super grateful for the tools of professionals, those lovely people out there who know how to do something, and I can just pay them and they do it 10 times better than I could ever do it. So that is what I am grateful for this morning. What are you grateful for this morning on this lovely Wednesday morning? So I'm going to have a sip of my lovely cup of gratitude. Have a sip with me and share with me what you're grateful for this morning. Here we go. While I'm waiting for that, let's talk about other news. What's going on in other news and creepy robot news for those who loved their Teddy Ruxpin? If you were a kid in the 80s and 90s, maybe 90s, and you had a Teddy Ruxpin, you always dreamed that this would be your friend. In fact, if anything, I think there was a Mark Wahlberg film, something like My Buddy or Buddies or something like that, and it was his childhood teddy bear, which resembled Teddy Ruxpin, had come to life. It is the teddy bear you've always wanted, but actually didn't realize you didn't want, and that is a Teddy Ruxpin connected to an Alexa. So yes, TedLexa has arrived. Here, boom, boom. TedLexa has arrived for you in a powerful video brought by an Ars Technica viewer and reader. He showed an entire video of how he connected his Teddy Ruxpin to Alexa by using an Arduino and the Raspberry Pi computer board. Now, if your kids are growing up and you want to give your kids STEM, this would actually be a very powerful project. If you want the step-by-step instructions, boom, of how to build a TedLexa, boom, you heard it here first. I got the link in the comments there, and just the thumbnail alone looks level 10 creepy, and the title says things you can't unsee. And as funny as it kind of is to think about the creepiness factor of TedLexa, I really don't think it's that creepy. I actually think it's a very interesting use of robotics and the AI that is Alexa. It actually connects to the Amazon Web Services and the Alexa voice service so that it's just like having a Google Assistant or Alexa Assistant in the house, but it's now in robot form. And I predict you're going to see waves and waves of projects like this, including Billy Bass, the singing bass. There's that one. People have done several different Woody and Buzz Lightyear. You're going to see a lot of these sort of robot projects from hobbyists that will begin to make the mainstream. And I think in just a few years' time, we're going to see some serious robots. For example, the Boston Dynamics robots are already smart enough to be walking around doing flips, doing parkour, as well as the Boston Dynamics Spot Dog. What if they were connected and could connect right through your Google Home or your Alexa and actually have answers for you? I think that's coming in very short time, and I would actually get them, although Marissa might be completely creeped out. So that is other news. Welcome to TedLexa. In other news number 2, can the internet be wielded as a political weapon and increase suffering? You bet. So I came across this article, and I don't often have heavy content for other news. Often it's very light content, and this isn't too awful heavy, but I think it is important to see several things. Number one, how powerful and the luxury that we have in our country today with full access to the internet at any time, and the idea that the government could just step in and shut it down on us as a political weapon is so far-fetched we couldn't even imagine it. But that's not the case for people in Kashmir. You see, people in Kashmir have sought to be an autonomous region several times from India. Well, I come to find out August 4th, 2019, India simply turned off their internet as a political weapon, as retribution for them seeking autonomous status. And as you can imagine, in flipping off the internet, they actually stratified the Kashmir region in many of their internet-dependent services. So basic services, if you can imagine going to the driver's license office here and not having internet, if you can imagine trying to run your business and no internet, if you showed up to work today and there was no internet, it would be a day off. In Kashmir, things ground to a halt. Now, the internet shutdown was partially lifted in March 2020. But I say partially because their internet speeds were throttled down to 2G speeds. So imagine being at odds with your government so much so that they simply turned off your internet. Now, over the last year, in 2020, there was over 93 major shutdowns done by 21 countries, typically poor countries, to have a total shutdown time within those countries and regions of about 27,165 hours. Anything. Imagine being a programmer. Imagine being an outsourcer in India trying to do work on Upwork. Imagine being in Indonesia or the Philippines and the government just doesn't like what you're up to and turns your internet off. Now, that's bad enough to shut down someone economically. But this does raise a very important question about healthcare, because as the pandemic began to expand, a lot of rural people who are often given to myth and not science-driven conversation, they are developing the habit of going on the internet and getting answers. We visited the CDC and Johns Hopkins map every single day as the pandemic began. But imagine suddenly the internet is turned off, and not only are you stratified economically, now there's a healthcare crisis where people are now going on shade tree medicine or myth and basically expand suffering, expand contraction because of lack of information. So the question is raised, was the pandemic exacerbated? Was breathing issues exacerbated during the pandemic because of a government shutdown? And should they be held to crimes against humanity in Geneva? So this is raising some very important questions. And the ultimate question this raises is this: is the internet, because of the information available, is the internet becoming a human right? And should we treat it as a human right as such? So it's a powerful question. So I've got the link to the article from Business Insider. Fantastic article. So you can kind of get the lay of the land on some of the details of what happened during these government internet shutdowns that were elective, that we're not talking like a typhoon knocked the power outage. They literally flipped a switch. So in the end, he who controls the information wins. So a very interesting article. And that, my friends, is stuff to consider going on around the world. Makes you realize that even streaming right here with very little interruption at all whatsoever, is that a human right or is it a luxury? Well, for today, I'm going to add that to my cup of gratitude. I'm grateful for a stable internet connection. As silly as that is, I'm grateful for a stable internet connection so that I can conduct business and move everything forward. In fact, our business would grind to a halt if it weren't for the internet. So a cup of gratitude, and that, my friends, is other news. Yeah, man. So this morning, we're talking and continuing the conversation about goal setting. And this conversation started way back when, not way back, about 2 weeks ago. I discussed a lot of people with ADD and just busy people in general have an orbital field going on around their brain of all the goals and all the ambitions and all the chores and all the desires. Right here, just coming in this morning, I got to pay a ticket to a toll that I missed in Texas. I've got to, what else? Oh, I've got a recall for my vehicle. I've got to plan Marissa's birthday extravaganza. And then on top of that, I've got to schedule my remote worker and da-da-da-da-da. There's an orbital field of requirements circling our brains. And as we talked about 2 weeks ago, we started on how I capture this when I start to feel overwhelmed. And I basically do what I call the download. And I get it out all in sticky notes. But I've formed a system over time that I transmit things from sticky notes, from the crazy orbit field, the cloud of responsibilities that overwhelm me, and how I channel that out of my head onto paper and beyond that into an actionable plan of action so that my stress level is relieved, all the open story loops can get closed, and I can focus on the work of today. And I be confident that the work I'm looking at today is the most important work for me to be looking at. So that has been the process we've been looking at. We started with the download phase 1, just capturing things, no prioritization at all. It's literally the catharsis of every desire, every dream, every craving to have abs, every business you want to launch, every chore you just need to close up, the squeaky wheel, tightening the toilet seat, fixing the AC, all of the stuff that you've said you need to do. You just get it out and give it sticky notes, no order or no sequence. Then what we did is we began to categorize it. We put it in its categories and started sorting them out. Again, no priority, just which one's not like or which one is like the other. And if to do could fit in group A and group B, whatever your intuition told you, that's the group it should belong. And then we did the ranking, and it was a 2-step ranking where everything was in a list, not ordered, out of your head in a bulleted list, and then you ranked it A, B, C, D, or E. A, you absolutely need to focus on it now. It's super important. B, it'd be really nice to have, but it could wait till, for another 9 months or 18 months. C, it'd be really nice to have, but you don't need it before you die. Hey, D means it does need to happen, but it needs to get delegated. You really shouldn't be the one to do it. And E, it should just get eliminated. And so you do that with the unordered list, just a bulleted list. But then you actually do this with your categories as well, and then you compare the two. The EE items get eliminated. You toss those out. The DD items go into an outbox you need to get someone to delegate it to. And then the AA items go on your calendar, on your list right away. And then you start to sequence and order the others, both in an unordered list and a categorized list. So we've got these two lists floating around, and that gives you a bird's eye view of where everything fits. And that leads us to today's step. And today's step is basically what I call chunking, or it's building your strategy. It's setting your 1-year goals through chunking. So I'm just looking at my notes here because I've got a screen I'm going to share with you on how this chunking works. But the basic principles of the chunking step are thus. Hang on, let's jump over there. Let's get our screens going. The basic principles of chunking are this. We're at the step where you are ready to set your 1-year goals. And we're going to work primarily from the categorized list. So if you pull up your categorized list, and I really do believe this should be a physical list, this should not be digital. It could become digital later as a tool. But for object permanence, so that your brain has a 3D model of it, I believe it should be written down in your notepad. So pull up your categorized list. So here are the 4 basic principles of setting 4 years goals. Now, these are principles, and then I have a process, but I don't often combine the two because I think it can be TMI, too much information. But I think it's important today to give you the 4 principles and then to give you the 3 steps of actually writing your 1-year goals and setting their chunks. So here they are. Number 1, principle 1, estimating. The first principle is this, and I got this from Brian Tracy. We greatly overestimate what we think we can accomplish in a year, and we greatly underestimate what we can accomplish in 3 years. You see, I'm an ambitious guy, and I want to tackle the world, and I could tell my wife, we're going to hit $1 million this year. It's not likely. So we just stop there. It's too difficult. We think in units of a year because of New Year's resolutions, but that's not really the most successful outcome. The most successful outcome is a longer-term time perspective, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But the first principle is that we overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year and underestimate what we can accomplish in 3. In fact, Operation Find My Abs. Operation Find My Abs should probably be extended to a 3-year, and it's a rolling 3-year goal instead of a 1-year goal. Now, I need to set some aggressive 1-year goals to achieve that. But I need to be patient with myself, because if you gave yourself 10 years of getting out of shape, you can at least give yourself 10 months to get back into shape, right? So principle 1, we overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year and underestimate what we can accomplish in 3. This also sets us up for massive disappointment. I can't tell you how many young people have come to me and said, I don't set goals anymore. And I go, why not? Well, it's just such an emotional roller coaster, and I never achieve the goals, and it just frustrates me. And because I get frustrated, I don't want the frustration. I'm just done setting goals. Come on, you're being silly, but I get it. So what if you set 3-year goals and extended your time horizon? So that leads us to principle number 2, long-term time perspective. Principle tool 2, I got from my millionaire mentor. He was a real estate developer and inspired me and Marissa for our real estate journey. But he would always tell me this: time is the currency of the wealthy. And when you need a longer term time perspective, in fact, how this works is I would rather have less today in order to have more of my time back in this life. So meaning if you were making, let's just say 50 grand a year, and you consume all of that, a millionaire, or this millionaire mentor of mine, would live off of about 30 grand in order that he could invest 20. So he would tighten his belt, eat out less, drink less coffee out, spend less money on trips, get that money into dollar-producing investments, dollar-producing streams of income. And once those streams of income would come in, then he would buy his toys, his doodads, his trips around the world. They were always paid for by the real estate, not by the earned income. And so the idea would be, hey, how do we continue to add time to our life? Well, then it becomes their kids. And so they would take care of them. The millionaires would take care of themselves and then start putting money away and adding resources and investments for the coming generation. So the first principle of chunking and setting your 1-year goals is you got to keep in mind we greatly overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year and underestimate what we can accomplish in 3. The second principle is have a long-term time perspective. And this goes hand in hand with delayed gratification. How long do I delay gratification? Until you achieve the goal, my friend. Delay your gratification until the goal is met. That's really, well, what about my world travel? Delay it. Now, I invert this a little bit. There's a great TED Talk by Steven Sagmeister. I recommend you Google it, and it's about how to take mini retirements every 7 years. I do believe that, but that's a different conversation. We're talking about money and investment. So let us proceed. The third principle, you cannot manage time. You can only manage energy. Everyone talks about time management. Stop that. You need to talk about you management. Time management is a misnomer. Well, Grant, if the action ends up being the same, what do you care what you call it? It's our focus. So just because it ends up on the calendar, and I've got my day outlined on the calendar today. That's my day right there. I've also got it on my desktop calendar, and it's also on my Google Calendar. So did I do time management? Nope. I am trying to do grant management. The language matters because where you focus is where the intensity lies. So my goal is to focus on how I manage me throughout the day, how I manage my energy levels. Do I stress out and just rush around? Well, yes, I put things on the calendar, but they don't happen when they're just on the calendar. So I need to actually govern my energy. So I think it's important to note that you cannot manage time. You can only manage energy. And at first, you can only manage your own energy. And as you become an employer, then you manage other people's energy. And number 4, you need to be thinking 2 to 4 years out. That's the 4th principle. Number 1, we overestimate 1 year, underestimate 3 years. Number 2, have a long-term time perspective. Remember that time is the currency of the wealthy. Number 3, you cannot manage time. You can only manage energy. And number 4, think 2 to 4 years out. That's it. That's the principles. So let me give you an overview of how to actually set your 1-year goals in the way I do it in my process. Through 1-year goal setting and chunking. So this is kind of the 4th step of the Top 100 Dream Igniter. Here we go. Here's the 3 actual steps. The first one, logical order overview. What I want you to do is I want you to pull out your categorized list and pick health and fitness or travel. I'm going to use an example from me and Marissa's trip to the Dominican Republic. So if I were looking at the category of travel, I've sorted my goals by categories. I've ranked them so I kind of have an idea of which of these goals can unlock the others, which of these goals can really unlock the others. So if you take the idea of travel, me and Marissa had a goal to live in the Dominican Republic. And separate from that, and this was actually in another category entirely. It was in another category. It was in a money category, and that was to save $30,000. And as we meditated on our goals, we started realizing, actually, why do we want the $30,000? Well, we want it for investing, but we also wanted to move to the island. So we actually moved that goal. We took that goal and moved it from the money category to the travel category. And once it landed in the travel category, it started to make logical sense. So the first step is what I call logical order overview. So first off, you just have to ask yourself deductive reasoning questions. So Marissa and I knew we wanted to head to the DR. We knew we also had a goal for $30,000. So it just made rational sense. Can I move to the DR without money? Well, no. I mean, I could, but the things I want to do in the Dominican Republic do require some capital, and we would like that safety net. Okay. So we need to actually focus on the $30,000 goal first. So we gave ourselves about 1.5 years. We were both working full time. I was working as a manager at Starbucks. She was working at an event place at a local hotel at the Terrace Hotel. She was working doing food service there. And so we actually decided to roll our sleeves up and put some serious money away. Then once we had hit our 30 grand, we said we were going to move to the Dominican Republic once we had 30 grand. So we knew that we had hit our first milestone and needed to transition to the second. So the first step of the process is logical order overview. So the question is, can you see logical order within your category, or in my one example, cross categories? Do one of the goals end up unlocking the other goals? And I mean directly, I don't mean loosely. Right? Like, well, if a millionaire is my goal and traveling to Asheville, North Carolina is also my goal, I don't need to become a millionaire to travel to Asheville. So I'm talking about be sane in your logical order overview. So again, step 1 is logical order overview. And then I gave you the example of us moving to the Dominican Republic. We did need that 30 grand for some of the things we were going to do in the Dominican Republic for the humanitarian cause, to set up our lives there. And then move forward. So that became a logical order overview. You could say this about push-ups. Do 100 push-ups a day and Operation Find My Abs. Well, Operation Find My Abs, I don't just wake up and have abs. So in terms of if I were looking at the fitness category and I had get my nutrition right, do 100 push-ups a day, and basically get abs. Well, logical order overview says, well, I'm going to have to do nutrition for all of these. So that leads us to the second goal, the second step. The first step is logical order overview. The second step is choose your linchpin goal. Choose your linchpin goal. There is a particular linchpin goal, and grab this language. It is the linchpin. It is the catalyst. It unlocks the other goals. So if the first step is just a logical order overview, you're not doing anything. You're just assessing the goals and going, okay, and you're looking for the second step, and that is to choose your linchpin. So in the fitness and health region, that is eat healthy. So I just need to get into the state of mind of making healthy food choices. And guess what? Bonus, I could do push-ups. I could do 100 push-ups a day, just starting right now. Well, and I probably need to unwind that to starting with, 50 push-ups a day. Once I hit that, then I expand to 75, whatever that is. You need to actually come up with, number one, the logical order overview, and then number two, choose your linchpin goal. You can begin to see why we have a categorizing step. We have a categorizing step and a correlation between items because they often stair step. And it's these two steps on why in most of my coaching, when someone says, I don't know what to do, I actually usually catch them and say, I challenge them. Do you really not know what to do? I believe most of us actually know what to do. We are avoiding it. But when you do the Top 100 Dream Igniter process from beginning to categorizing to this step, which is you're setting your 1-year goals, when you actually do this process, you can't help but see, I actually do know what to do. I actually generally know what steps to take in my business. I got to market. I got to sell. I got to sit in front of people, and I've just been avoiding that. We could talk about those other things later, but step one, do the logical order overview of each category. Then step two, earmark asterisk star the linchpin goal in each category. Do it. Do it. Then you're going to do the chunking, which is reverse engineering it from 18 months back. And here's how you do that. So step three, repeating, step three is chunk that goal by reverse engineering it from 18 months back. So in the example of me and Marissa moving to the Dominican Republic, we had our logical order overview. We knew we wanted to move to the Dominican Republic, but we knew we wanted to move there with money. So the first goal of saving 30 grand was our goal. So back then we just worked hard and put 30 grand away. And it took us about 18 months, actually. It took us about 18 months to do, give or take. Step two is choose the linchpin goal. We chose to focus on the 30 grand. Step three, we chunked that goal out about 18 months apart. So 30 grand divided by 18 months. So what is that? So let's look just for a hard number. So 30 grand, 1, 2, 3, divided by 18 months. So we had to put away $1,666 a month. So could you just wake up today and start putting away $1,666? Well, back then we were a young couple. She was in her young 20s. I was in my young 30s, and we didn't have a lot of expenses. We were zero debt. We were working hard. I was making good money at Starbucks. She was making good money as a server. And yeah, we were able to put that money away. And then people gave us gifts of money. So money attracts money. So we reverse engineered it. We set the goal. Listen, we want to be living in the Dominican Republic 2 years from now. So 18 months from now, we need to have saved 30 grand. And then here's what we need to begin putting away. And you just start with that goal. You just start with it and focus on something that finite. So that's an example of how you chunk. The same with fitness goals. Let's say in 2 years, I want abs. So in 18 months, I need to be in the habits of eating right, doing 100 push-ups a day at least, or sit-ups. And then I need to be working out so many days a week. So then I reverse engineer that and say, okay, well, if I want that goal in 2 years, then in 18 months, I need to be hitting the gym this many times and doing this many push-ups and not having any cheat days. Then in 9 months, I need to be I have a few cheat days. I only need to be doing this many push-ups, and I need to be eating right most days. And then 6 months, and then 5 months. So let's break this down real quick. I have a screen to share with you. Let me turn that on. Boom. And yeah, let me maximize that sucker. So what we're looking at is a sheet I have from the Top 100 Dream Igniter. Again, the new edition is coming out, but this one is here for you. You set your first near-term goal. In this case, we would say 30 grand. And then we say what we're willing to do to get. So to accomplish this goal, I am willing to invest and give in return. And me and Marissa's statement was hard work at our jobs, saving money, and not eating out or something like that. My general plan in one sentence: we will not eat out or drink coffee for the next year in order to save $1,666 a month in order to save 30 grand. The short-term chunks I will use, and we used months. So we chose months and what I need to accomplish in each short-term goal. So on month 1, I need to start with 10 push-ups a day for the whole month and only 3 cheat days a month. And then for the second month, I do 20 push-ups a day, and then 30 push-ups, and then 40 push-ups, and then 50 push-ups, and then 60 push-ups, and then 70 and 80. And then on the 9th month, I'm going to actually just jump to 100 push-ups and start adding gym days. And that's my plan of action. I will accomplish this by this date. Date it 18 months out. So this is what I actually call a commitment statement or a chunking statement. So we've set a 1-year goal gets accomplished right here. But we actually, just like martial arts, when you punch through the board, we're going for that 18-month mark. So what can we be? So we skip over the pressure of overestimating what we're going to be in 1 year. But we don't underestimate what we can accomplish in 3. So we set this goal for 18 months. So you can repeat this activity for each category. Each category, you should have chosen a linchpin goal. You should say what you're willing to give in return, what time, energy, focus, investment you're willing to give into return. You're going to choose, am I going to work on months, weeks, or days? That's why we call them chunks. We call them chunks because you could focus on months, weeks, or days, depending on what is realistic for that goal. And then you actually break down in your 18 chunks, and I prefer months, what you will accomplish. So we already mentioned this for push-ups. We mentioned this for money. In the first month, we're going to save $1,666. Well, the first month, that was really tough. So the first month, you set down an easier goal. Well, in the first month, we're going to save $300. And the second month, we're going to save $500. And you build up to when you're exceeding $1,666 because you get better at that goal as you go. So that's how you set a money goal. You could do this with careers. You could do this with sales. I should set a sales goal for my company that in 18 months, we're selling, in the website company, 10 new websites a month. Or in the training company, we sell 100 courses a month. And then you reverse engineer that. Can the first month I get 1 sale? In the second month, can I get 3 sales? And continue to grow from there. Listen, I think that is beginning to make sense. I think that starts to make sense on how to chunk. So here's the process. Number 1, do a logical order overview. Review each category. And what you're looking for is step 2, choosing a linchpin goal that unlocks the other goals. And then step 3, break that goal down by what I believe should be 18-month chunks. You will have played with the psychology of not overestimating what you do this year and not underestimating what you're going to do in 2 or 3 years. And you would have happened to have already set your 1-year goals. Can you see how this works? Does that make sense? Can you act on that thing? I think you can act on that thing. So I hope that this has been helpful to you. I'm going to go follow up with my goal of spending time with my lovely wife. Remember, it's not time management, it's energy management. And I love spending time with my wife, and that's energizing. So I'm going to go do that before I walk out my plan today. Remember to plan the work and then work the plan. And that is what this step does. This is the critical step. If you do not write this down, now the next step is to put these things on the calendar, and we'll cover that later. But once you have written it on a step, once you have written the goals on this sheet or a sheet like it, you should escalate. You should go, oh man, I don't know if I can do this thing. Am I going to commit to this? And once you commit to it, it goes on the calendar. And now you actually have taken the orbital cloud of responsibilities and given them an action plan that should create some focus. You shouldn't have all these open loops in your head. They're on paper now. And now that sheet should go on the wall. It should go on your phone. And we'll actually talk about other ways to set up your environment for goal achievement a little bit later. But I hope this has been helpful to you. If you need support, visit us at stateofthespark.com. Join the Facebook Goals and Gratitude group right there. Join up. Ask your question. Let's talk there about this material. Ask your questions on how to achieve more. I'd love to answer those questions there. But remember, no matter what you do today, remember the goal. Igniting lives of explicit significance, starting with your own. Have a great day. Take care.